The world around us is filled with wonders. But what about the world within? What secrets reside in the depths of the human heart? Join us now on a journey. We will explore the hidden territories within, confronting those aspects of ourselves that we often try to ignore. Our guide on this pilgrimage is an ancient text, the Book of Proverbs. So, with open hearts and humble spirits, let us delve into the depths of Proverbs 6 together and confront the 7 sins that God hates. The ancient world knew them well: pride, envy, wrath, sloth, greed, gluttony, and lust. But Proverbs 6 speaks of a different set of sins that cut to the core of our relationship with God and with one another. These are not just personal failings, but transgressions that poison the well of human community and grieve the heart of our Creator. Prepare yourself, dear traveler, for this is not a journey for the faint of heart. Haughty eyes, Proverbs 6 begins, introducing us to the first sin on this sobering list. Haughty eyes are the window to a prideful heart, a heart that elevates itself above others. Pride whispers insidious lies, inflating our egos and distorting our vision. Proverbs warns us that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall. True fulfillment is found in the humility of recognizing our place in the grand tapestry of creation. The sin of pride manifests in our communities and institutions. Social media amplifies the dangers of pride, creating a distorted reflection of reality. We measure our worth against impossible standards, leading to feelings of inadequacy. True contentment is found in surrendering our pride and embracing the radical humility of the gospel. The antidote to pride is not self-hatred, but humility. Humility is about thinking of ourselves less and focusing on the needs of others. Jesus, the ultimate example of humility, lived a life of love and compassion. We are called to embody this same spirit of humility, putting others before ourselves. In embracing our brokenness and our need for God, we find true freedom and joy. From the haughty eyes of pride, Proverbs turns our attention to a lying tongue. A lie, no matter how small, has the power to unravel the delicate threads of connection. The sin of a lying tongue encompasses all forms of deceit, from subtle manipulations to half-truths. Each lie chips away at our integrity, eroding our sense of self and diminishing our capacity for genuine connection. In today's interconnected world, the sin of a lying tongue has taken on new dimensions. Social media creates a breeding ground for misinformation and lies. Trust is eroding, and political discourse descends into a toxic stew of accusations. We retreat into echo chambers, surrounded by those who reinforce our biases. The path away from the sin of a lying tongue is not always easy. It requires us to confront our biases, seek out diverse information, and engage in respectful dialogue. We must develop critical thinking skills to evaluate the credibility of sources. Embracing truth builds trust, creates authentic relationships, and fosters a more just society. The words of Proverbs cut deep as we confront the chilling phrase, "hands that shed innocent blood." This evokes images of physical violence and the daily injustices inflicted upon the vulnerable. The sin of shedding innocent blood goes beyond physical violence to encompass all forms of harm. Every harsh word and act of exclusion contributes to the culture of violence. The wounds inflicted by violence run deep, leaving lasting scars on individuals and communities. The trauma of physical and emotional abuse can be debilitating. Bullying, whether in person or online, can have devastating consequences. Indifference to suffering is also a form of shedding innocent blood, making us complicit in perpetuating violence. The call to turn away from violence and to embrace peace is woven throughout the scriptures. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, the prophet Micah reminds us, to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God, Micah 6:8. Cultivating a heart of peace begins with recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every human being. It means treating others with kindness, respect, and compassion, speaking out against injustice and oppression wherever we see it, and cultivating peace within our own hearts. Proverbs warns us of a heart that devises wicked plans. This sin takes us beyond impulsive acts of harm to a place of premeditation, a place where evil is not merely a reaction but a calculated choice. It speaks to the darkness that can take root in the human heart, the insidious whispers that tempt us to choose selfishness over compassion, greed over generosity, power over integrity. The seeds of wicked plans are often sown in the fertile ground of envy and resentment. We see others with what we desire, possessions, status, relationships, and a corrosive envy begins to eat away at our contentment. We convince ourselves that we deserve what they have, that we have been somehow cheated by fate. These seeds of discontent can quickly grow into elaborate schemes, fueled by a sense of entitlement and a disregard for the well-being of others. We justify our actions by minimizing the potential consequences or by dehumanizing those we intend to harm. The heart that devises wicked plans becomes a master of deception, crafting elaborate facades to mask its true intentions. It manipulates situations and exploits relationships, always seeking its own advantage, even at the expense of others. The sin of devising wicked plans is not confined to the back alleys of society. It can manifest in corporate boardrooms where profits are prioritized over people, in government halls where power is abused for personal gain, and in our homes where jealousy and greed poison relationships. We see it in the white-collar criminal who defrauds investors, leaving families financially ruined. We see it in the politician who trades influence for personal gain, betraying public trust. And in the ordinary person driven by jealousy or rage, plotting revenge against a neighbor or co-worker. The consequences erode trust and sow discord, perpetuating cycles of pain and suffering. The fabric of society frays as individuals prioritize self-interest. The pursuit of power and wealth becomes an all-consuming obsession, leaving a trail of broken promises and shattered lives. Yet the heart that devises wicked plans often fails to anticipate the full consequences. For every scheme, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The web of deceit will eventually unravel, exposing the darkness at its heart. The path away from devising wicked plans is a commitment to integrity, a steadfast adherence to honesty, fairness, and compassion. It is a choice to live transparently, guided by principles of justice and righteousness, even when it is difficult. Choosing integrity means resisting the temptation to cut corners or to compromise our values for personal gain. It means speaking truth to power, even when it is uncomfortable. It means being a voice for the voiceless, advocating for those who are marginalized. Building a world where integrity flourishes requires a collective effort. It begins with modeling ethical behavior in our own lives. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 18 warns us of feet that are swift to run to evil. This imagery evokes a sense of urgency, a headlong rush towards wrongdoing. It speaks to the impulsive nature of sin and the allure of instant gratification. We live in a world saturated with enticements, urging us to indulge our desires. The internet offers instant access to temptations that erode our moral compass. The allure of darkness is often subtle, disguised as harmless fun. We tell ourselves that just this once won't hurt, but sin whispers lies. The desire to fit in can drive us to compromise our values. The danger of running towards evil often begins with small, seemingly insignificant steps. A white lie here, a harmless flirtation there, a bending of the rules when it suits our purpose. But sin, like a corrosive acid, eats away at our integrity, gradually eroding our moral foundation until we find ourselves standing on shaky ground. What was once unthinkable becomes acceptable, even desirable. The line between right and wrong blurs, and we become desensitized to the consequences of our actions. The path away from swift-footed evil is not about fear or retreating from the world. It is about cultivating wisdom and discernment and choosing a different path. Acknowledge our vulnerability and capacity for both good and evil. Surround ourselves with people who hold us accountable and encourage us to live up to our highest aspirations. Cultivate a deep relationship with God through prayer, meditation, and the study of His Word. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 19 speaks of a false witness who breathes out lies. This imagery is especially potent, likening lies to a toxic vapor, an invisible but deadly force that contaminates everything it touches. It speaks to the insidious nature of falsehood, the way it spreads effortlessly, poisoning minds and corrupting hearts. A false witness is not merely someone who tells a lie. They are a deliberate perverter of truth, someone who seeks to deceive for personal gain or malicious intent. They twist words, manipulate facts, and spread rumors, all with the aim of harming others or advancing their own agenda. Their words are weapons, wielded with precision to inflict maximum damage. We often associate false witness with legal proceedings where perjury can have devastating consequences, destroying lives and undermining the very foundations of justice. But the sin of bearing false witness extends far beyond the courtroom. It manifests in the workplace, where gossip and slander can ruin reputations and sabotage careers. It festers in families and communities where rumors and innuendos sow discord and erode trust. And it thrives in the digital age, where misinformation and disinformation spread like wildfire on social media, fueled by algorithms designed to prioritize engagement over accuracy. Trust is the bedrock of any healthy relationship, whether between individuals, communities, or even nations. It is the glue that holds us together, the foundation upon which we build cooperation, collaboration, and mutual understanding. When trust is eroded, the consequences are far-reaching and profound. Every lie we tell, every truth we twist, every half-truth we spread chips away at the foundation of trust. The more we engage in deceit, the more difficult it becomes to believe, to trust our own judgment, and to discern truth from falsehood. The erosion of trust breeds suspicion, fear, and division. We become wary of those around us, questioning their motives, doubting their words, and retreating into our own echo chambers, surrounded by those who confirm our biases. Communication breaks down, collaboration becomes impossible, and the bonds that unite us fray and eventually snap. In a world increasingly defined by polarization, misinformation, and the weaponization of truth, the sin of bearing false witness has taken on a particularly sinister dimension. It fuels political and social divisions, undermines democratic institutions, and erodes our shared sense of reality. The path away from bearing false witness is a commitment to truth-telling. It requires us to be discerning consumers of information and question our own biases. Cultivate humility, recognizing our perspective is one among many. Engage in respectful dialogue, listening to understand, not judge. Standing as truth-bearers requires courage, conviction, and speaking truth to power. We have journeyed through the unsettling landscape of Proverbs 6, confronting the 7 sins that God hates: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and sowing discord among brethren. Each sin, a dark stain on the fabric of human existence, a testament to our capacity for selfishness, cruelty, and deceit. The consequences of these sins are not some distant, abstract threat. They manifest as broken relationships, fractured communities, and a pervasive sense of unease. We see the fruit of these sins in the headlines of violence and injustice, in the cynicism poisoning our political discourse, and in the quiet desperation haunting many hearts. The wages of sin is death, not just physical, but a spiritual death, separating us from God and each other. It leads away from the fullness of life intended for us. Embracing sin leads away from light, away from hope, away from the source of our being. But even in this bleak landscape, a glimmer of hope remains, for God, in His infinite mercy, has not abandoned us to our sin. He offers a path of redemption, a path that leads back to Himself. The journey back from sin begins with confession, acknowledging our brokenness and our need for God's grace. It means turning away from darkness and choosing to walk in the light of His love. If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just and will forgive us and purify us from all unrighteousness. God's forgiveness is a gift, freely given. Embracing redemption means allowing God's love to transform us. It means surrendering our will to His and allowing His Spirit to guide us. We are beloved children, forgiven and empowered. This transformation is a lifelong journey. There will be times when we stumble, but God's grace is sufficient for us. He never tires of forgiving, never stops pursuing us with His love. Let us extend that same grace to ourselves and to those around us. We are all in need of redemption, and we are all capable of extraordinary love and transformation. The choice is ours.